Welcome. As I sit in my squeaky chair once again, I invite to you a lovely encounter that I had. And this encounter was, I suppose, a message from God, you might say. Maybe something new. You see, I've been struggling lately with food, finances, living on rice and chia seeds. I would go and pick up rubbish in the parks and the waterways, hoping to find $100. Optimistic, yes, but you see, then my father gave me $100 sent to my account. And it's unfortunate that it must come from family, but it's one of those things that I asked for it and I got it. But not only that, I was up the shops and as I was leaving, I was having a conversation with the homeless guy, Milton. And we were talking about things. And as I went to my car, I noticed this license plate of another vehicle driving by. Just had 3 numbers on it, that's it. 289. Nothing else, nothing more, no letters, just those 3. Fascinating, because when you look at the meaning of 289, it's about the completion of major life cycles, the imminent arrival of new beginnings and higher purpose. It's about personal transformation and harvesting of rewards from past efforts. That there is highlight alone. How many times have you seen a license plate like that before? So to me it was beautiful, but I felt more. I had dreams, vivid dreams of something orange or something hidden behind this orange with a lovely woman saying, "Can you see me?" You see, I have a dictionary here that I use for my readings when I give people psychic readings, and it's covered in orange fragile tape, believe it or not. And on the first page when I open it, I didn't notice this, but there's an insignia in it that says Troy. You see, the first thing that comes to mind is Helen of Troy, or Greece, or Greek, ancient ruins and these sorts of things. Because I've been discussing with the girls in the shopping center about places we'd go when we have millions of dollars. And the topic was Greece. So it's fascinating that that comes up as well, which leads me into more places. Like, my mind naturally wants to go, well, is my family descendant from this region? Is life something like that? So we rein ourselves back in. We find meaning in it. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, something I should read and get into. So there's something a little more. So I decided, well, what's on page 289? I could open any of the books and find what's there. But this one in particular, because of the orange. Now you see, at the top of that page was the word entrant, which to me is the one being able or being entered or allowed in, those types of things. And at the bottom was the 3 letters EPH. And they were the definition for the Ephesians. Now, I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. And it's a fascinating read. The Ephesians, part of the New Testament. And if you go through each of the segments in the Ephesians, it's very much what I've been going through. The whole process, it's what life is currently going through now, it's what it's calling for. I do recommend having a look at just that section because it is such a fascinating idea of where we're currently at. Or at least for me it is. And it might just be for me. Because if you look at where that place is, it's in potentially Turkey, right? The Ephesus. So all those areas of the Temple of Artemis and these sort of places in conjunction with the Iliad and Odyssey and these sorts of things, it's very much similar. So a lot of that is so many different paths to look at and ways to go and read up on and see how relevant it is. But what is important is that the Ephesians were this type of magic, sorcery, occult, the paganisms and stuff like this, a little bit of the rebel side of things when it comes to that sort of thing. And it's almost like, for me, it's the bringing together of the masculine and the feminine, and that sort of comes into the balance of harmonizing the good parts of you and harmonizing the parts that not necessarily we shun or we don't like about ourselves, but that sort of light and dark aspects, and joining them together, being a part of that. And if you read Ephesians, it does mention a lot about that sort of section. Unfortunately, it's in the one where, let's have a look. I think it's mother and father, wives and husbands, and these sorts of things, right? So, wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, and so on and so forth. And husbands, love your wives as Christ. Now, a lot of this, if we think about scripture before, has been taken out of context so much, or not, and just reading as it is as submissive and slaves. I mean, there's a section in there called bond servants and masters. But see, I'd like to take from this, it's the aspects of ourselves, the feminine aspects of ourselves, the masculine aspects of ourselves that we are joining together. We are allowing one and the other. We're being united, which is exactly what the situation is, what they talk about in here from the uncircumcised and the circumcised in that sort of context. If we read, I think it's the very first bit where they talk about having sort of, what's the word, the Israelite section, right? Go and have a look at it, you'll be fine with it. So why is it important to look at this? Because it sort of makes sense, because it's saying things like, the promises, the guarantees of inheritance, but when we go through that process, it's there. The spiritual blessings by aligning with Christ and consciousness. When we talk about those aspects of ourselves by believing in God, going through that sort of Job mentality. The thanks and prayer that we have by working with God and allowing the Christ to work within us no matter how much we're suffering. There's a section here which also says it's about giving himself up with the head over the things to the church, which is his body. So it's removing the things that we no longer do, like trusting our body, appreciating it, no longer putting in the bad stuff, listening to the body, no longer doing things. It's honoring thyself, basically. And by doing that, we receive the fullness of Christ. By keeping the seed, keeping those sort of things in mentality as well, we are honoring that. The faith in the path, the removing of all those aspects of ourselves that no longer serve us. That is this whole section. They talk about the Gentiles, which is what I was getting at, being alienated. So the separation of all aspects, this is what I take from it. The separation of all aspects of who you are have been thrown out of proportion. You find each part and you bring it back in. The aspects of your life, whether it's thought and emotion or sexuality or these sorts of things. And you're reuniting themselves with you. Those, you don't shun and remove them or forget them or put them in a corner or, leave them at home while you go to work, these sort of things. You're removing yourself from that narrative. But not only that, you're removing yourself from the slave labor of the system. So you're walking in a manner of humility and greatness. Because you walk as you talk, you embody that sense of love and Christ. You don't have to be religious and be a priest or a pastor and say this and say that. But the world has got us believing we need taxes and insurances and licenses to do all of these things when we don't. You learn and you grow and you understand those sort of things, and it's about removing all of those things from you, removing the fears, removing all of that, and walking in love. You're ascending from the sort of boy into a man. And that's what it's about. People live so much inside the system that they forget to look outwardly. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in a certain way, but you look at yourself inwardly, because we are all a part of God. This part here, it says, sexual immorality and all impurity of covetousness must not be named among you. Let there be no filthiness nor foolish talk. This is that same adage of, you speak with love and appreciation. You don't fill your mind with pornography. It's there, but you don't allow it to become you. You don't allow it to control you. So when they talk about obey, and I don't like that word, you commit and these sort of things, you're literally obeying to yourself. You're walking to yourself, becoming strong and sharing that light without lowering your standards. You take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So you bring to light those parts of you that you hide in the darkness. By bringing them up and showcasing them and living within them, you're able to unite them. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, uniting the people. And it isn't to a certain place or Israel, because here it talks about how Jesus represents that. It is the person, not the place. It was said like in the Marvel movies, how you had Thor and Odin and they have all of this sort of stuff, and they talk about how it's not the place, it's the people. And it is that. Everyone, it's the people makes the place, not the ground you walk on, not the material possessions. And it's this like, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine upon you. We go through that ego death because we are sleeping. And when we arise from that ego death, you don't become all religious and stuff, but there is a new sense of love and commandment, appreciation and worth of all things, not materialistic. They have purpose. They don't have greed or envy or any of these sorts of things. The part here where it talks about children and parents. Obey your parents. Honor your mother and father. This is specifically hard, or particularly hard, if you have narcissistic parents. And they talk about how you have to honor them for what they went through and this sort of thing, and appreciate them for who they are. But you can also rise above that and see them for what they are. Messengers, lesson learners. You don't condone physical violence or anything like that, but that stops with you. There's so much more to that section. It isn't just about one, but it says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." Don't invoke that with them. And that's the sort of thing, like, if people go past that, then they're not raising properly. So there's a lot of that. The section here that people think it's masters and slaves, it's not. At least in my opinion, it's not. They call them bond servants. Obey your earthly masters. Now that terminology for me in itself, the earthly masters, means that these bond servants are ethereal. They are assigned to you because in those sort of esoteric, magical laws, you create binds, you create bonds, like contracts to a person. To me, what this means is that it's assigned the angelic or spirituals, those who are there to protect you, to guide you in the etheric world. Because knowing whatever good anyone does, he will receive back from the Lord, whether he is bond servant or is free. I think it's all about unity in respecting what you cannot see, appreciating and paying what you cannot see. Maybe those who had done wrong in their life are now helping those in the past. I don't know. But I don't think it's about master and slave, in my opinion. I think it's more about understanding that both those who are in heaven and in the side of the ethereal and those in the metaphysical reality and all of that sort of nonsense are together as one. And working together and removing the slavery. And a lot of it then comes into the sort of final part, which talks about putting on your armor of God, that you're able to stand against the schemes of evil and the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. This type of building is like you've just gone through that entire account of evil, of structure, of losing everything, finding yourself, ego death, still having the ability to push forward, the faith in God, and becoming that person that you are. And you don't have to then go and preach the word and the proclamation of God and become all of that. It's about you and how you represent yourself. When you walk at one, united, both masculine and feminine, both light and dark, you're unstoppable. That's what they're trying to stop. They're trying to stop your connection of the two, the unification of all beings. So that's my take on it from the numbers 289. And for me, it's fascinating because it opens more doors to what it could be. I mean, there's a new movie coming out called The Odyssey. So that actually looks quite good. I mean, we had the release of Disclosure, and now we have the release of The Odyssey. And you've got to think, okay, well, are they releasing information to us which is from esoteric, or is it just false narratives trying to throw ideas out there? But I find it strange how it's all leading to those types of mentalities, those types of ideas. And who knows? What is interesting is that my niece's name is Penelope, which, as we know in the Odyssey, is one of the people. So who knows? There may be some history there that has been cleansed or healing. Might just be an interesting read. Might even go to Greece very soon. And that will be an interesting time to take video and do some stories there. But I hope something was able to come to you for those that are still listening. And maybe you got an idea from it. Or maybe you know exactly what it means. Nonetheless, I hope you have a lovely day and the sun is shining wherever you are. So it is with that, I leave you with peace and love. Take care.